I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I'ma keep on climbing, I ain't gon' stop. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I'ma keep on climbing, I ain't gon' stop. I was born from the bottom, raised to the top. Born from the bottom, ain't gon' stop. Born from the bottom, raised to the top. Born from the bottom, ain't gon' stop. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I'ma keep on climbing, I ain't gon' stop. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I was born from the bottom but raised to the top. I'ma keep on climbing, I ain't gon' stop. I was born from the bottom, raised to the top. Born from the bottom, ain't gon' stop. Born from the bottom, raised to the top. Born from the bottom, ain't gon' stop.
Live from iRacing's virtual Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to Round 7 of the 2024 RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. There are only 2 races left to go before we crown this Winter Series championship, and while it still seems like Seth the Merchant is the man to chase, that got a little bit more interesting just a week ago in Charlotte, and tonight we may have a champion crowned by the time the night is done. But as always, happy that you're joining us in the RaceSpotTV booth alongside Derek Watson. My name is Evan Pasoko, and our producer downstairs is Joshua Lee. And Derek, it was that race win from Agnell Phillip at Charlotte and a DNF from Seth the Merchant that made the points a little bit more interesting. One of 2 things can happen here tonight. I can't really promise either or. Seth could mathematically secure the championship, or this could get pushed to that Atlanta finale in 1 week's time.
Yeah, what happened last week, Evan, is Seth lost his safety net, basically. That gap he had that seemed improbable became probable with that DNF he had. So if we take a look at the points, you'll see here it's a smaller gap than what it used to be. And yeah, it's totally something that I think is within reach now. As I said, the best way I can describe it to the viewers at home is he really is just playing without a safety net.
He had, going into last round, a comfortable advantage of 47 points. So what that meant was that was more than he could lose in a night. But he is below that threshold, so his championship lead sits at 27 points ahead of Michael Araya. That is still a very healthy number, coupled with the fact that there is a field of 23 cars right now getting ready for the open qualifying session. But it does mean, to your point, that that safety net is gone. Agnell Phillip, with his first win of the year, jumped to 3rd in the standings. He's 35 back, Jurgensen 40, and Dakota Harris from P5 46 back. Again, all of those positions still very much up to be fought for, but of course the primary focus is on the top of the ladder, and if Seth the Merchant will capture this championship, he is on track tonight and has been a top 10 car so far in the practice session. You take a look at the schedule again. The sister track here tonight of what we saw at Michigan earlier this year. Well, Seth won that Michigan race, and as well, Derek, Seth has won all of the odd-numbered races so far this year. He won round 1 in Daytona, 3 in Michigan, and 5 in Rockingham. So if that trend continues, it's very likely that he wins here in Fontana and secures the championship here tonight. But again, if it is not decided this afternoon, we'll do it all one more time with everything on the line with that Atlanta finale on the old configuration of Atlanta Motor Speedway next Monday on the 29th.
Yeah, that's what we're looking forward to, right? Seth sort of has that old Star Trek movie, odd number theory where the fans liked, there was, I think, the odds and hated the evens, and sort of that thing going on here. But you're right, Auto Club is the place we're at tonight, and I think we are now into qualifying. So this will be our first glimpse of seeing how well Seth feels about this track.
They are quick to race off of the pit lane. Last week it was First Out who had the benefit in the qualifying session. Obviously the questions are always how much of a draft is beneficial, at what point does it hurt you or harm you. This is a big racetrack. We're going to be talking about high speeds all race long, so I think you will want to have a little bit of help. Get him in first out of the blocks, Kamer second, and there is that 57 in the VRS Direct Force Pro Chevrolet of Seth the Merchant third out. That thing is taped up, completely sealed on the front of that car. And the benefit of this 5-minute session is there is no limit in terms of laps. So what drivers will likely do is go out, try to get some laps in. If they don't like the track positioning they're in, they would come down, try again. So we'll see those times dance around, but your field has just started their first flying laps.
Yeah, you see Seth here is going to try to get down here on the bottom, probably track it way out to pick up that speed here. And you see him now on that lap. You see the ticker there on the bottom, almost 18 seconds already. I'm surprised, and I will see eventually Seth probably will come out with someone and try to pull a little bit of draft here. But watch him here now down 3 and 4, right in the bottom. And now back to the top. I'm surprised, Evan, because the drivers I talked to pre-race all told me the top line is faster. It just eats up more tires.
Not a concern in qualifying, but we may see those driver behaviors change as we go to the race. And Seth fastest on his first, ahead of Agnell, Kyle, and Ross. He goes 39.843. That puts him at the top of the board, and now he will pull down off of the racetrack. He will set up and go again. Again, with these things taped up at 100%, you're not going to get much more than that one single lap out of it. Look for those flashes of red and green as well, as these drivers either introduce themselves to the board with Dylan Coyle going to P11 and Wetmore going to 14, or then go back out and update their times with new fast laps. Those red and green indicators will let you know if somebody's gaining positions. Of course, Galen Gidman jumps up to P6, therefore everybody below him loses some spots there in the red. Freenos jumps to P10. That's a good visualization on how that's going to work all afternoon long, but Freenos out there for his second lap time. He already did his flyer. It looks like his car may not be quite as taped up as Seth, so he's going to go for 2 in a row. As you jump back to that 72 car there, that's Doug Roth looking for his first lap time of the afternoon. The field size does stand right now at 23.
Yeah, and that is a number that I think is important to Seth. Evan, you and I sort of talked about this post-broadcast last week, that Seth wants a small field. So in case something bad were to happen again, that drop down the field isn't as harmful as it would be if it was a 30-35 car field here. But here's Doug Roth on board, and we'll be back and watch Seth again. Seth here now sort of coming up a little bit in those corners, now up to the first seam above it at least. But when you're on pole, maybe you know something, you're just going to keep repeating it and try and get faster and faster.
And there is a car up the road from Seth, but it's about a third of the way through the turn up the road and on a completely different line with Jurgensen low and DeMerchant high. Seth was a little bit closer to the other cars the last time he completed a lap. That put him on the provisional pole of a 39.842. So as he gets going now with 41.709, again, just not even same ballpark tentatively. Now he'll go down to the bottom. He's got no help in front. So as he goes to complete this lap, this one's all on his own, and there is a ton of counter steer out of the driver of the 57 all the way through too.
Evan, the thing I'm confused about, by the way, we know there is a bonus point for getting the pole position here in the IceBreaker Winter Series. Okay, there he goes. Lariah had been sitting on pit road. I guess he's trying to time this final lap and get one last run out of it. He's just leaving pit road, though, Evan. I am not sure if he's going to make it around.
It's going to be close. The countdown you see at the top of your screen is not to the end of the session. There's a little bit of discretion there as Seth does pick up 40.018, I should say, but not enough to take over the top spot. William Schmidt jumps to P2. So really you have to start your lap by the time you get to that number. And then if you've gotten to that point, then you'll have an opportunity to have some time to complete the lap that you're actively on. Agnell Phillip with a late slicey to move down to the inside there. Got a whole lot of draft off of the back of Doug Roth down the back straightaway. Is it going to be beneficial for Agnell? Seems a little bit disappointed by just looking at his facial expression. Clock strikes 0, 39.951. It is his best lap so far, but stays P5. And now those waning seconds will tick on through as drivers on an active lap have an opportunity to complete it.
Just an update as we're seeing on screen here. Compared to what we're seeing on screen, pardon me, Michael Lariah never came back out, Evan. He killed the run. I am a loss for words of why you wouldn't try one last time unless he just realized that he waited too long on the timer. It's sort of a funny topic, by the way. Isn't this the track in real life where the drivers all waited too long?
Didn't make it around in time with the
yeah, this is like that's what sort of killed group qualifying, right?
Ironic that we run group qualifying at the place that you're right, essentially killed it. Dylan Coyle, one of the last cars on track, currently sitting in 19th position, but there is that tentative clock striking 0. The Pennsylvanian will not have enough time to complete another lap, and with that, qualifying has closed. So let's go trackside and take a look at your RealSimRacing starting grid for tonight's Fontana Fontana 75. And it is the championship leader, Seth DeMerchant, on pole with a 39.843. He will be joined by the California Kid. It is William Schmidt, the number 97 car, in second. Cody Harris, your defending team champ for the Cup Series in 2023, will start from third. Michael Araya settling for the number 4 position tonight. And back on row 3, heavy hitters with the 94 of Vagno Phillip and the 2 of Sam Nieto.
Moving back into P7, back in row 4, Galen Gidman on the inside in P7 with Andrew Freenosh in P8 on the outside. Row 5 is Nathan Jorgensen with Kyle Cameron back there in P10. And then row 6, Tom Wetmore with Braden Whitaker on the outside.
Lucky number 13 tonight goes to the 48 of Brady Whitaker, and that 47 of Don Stevenson as well, right there on through, who will start in the number 14 position as well. Joseph Tice and Maverick Davis will start 15th and 16th. Grant Davis will start from 17th position, and Ross Cato rounds out your top 18.
Going back here, Dylan Coyle back, you said, back in P19. Doug Roth in P20. DeAndre Kane, a rookie of the series, back in 21st with Mike Maddox in 22nd. And then 23rd and 24th, not turning times, would be Kyle Trudell and Harry Grindell. I see Grindell on the grid already. No sign of Trudell. We'll see if he makes the grid in time.
We know Grindell had been here. He put down a time into practice. You mentioned no time in qualifying. Just waiting to see if Trudell will actually get on racetrack, and just like that, he is. So all 24 of them lined up and ready to go racing. Let's talk more about what is strange to say the currently defunct Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. At least this iteration of the speedway will not be seen in NASCAR competition ever again. It is a 2-mile D-shaped oval that was in use from 1997 to 2023. 4 corners, 14 degrees of banking, 11 degrees on the front stretch, and just a hint of 3 degrees on the back straightaway. Of course, very similar to what we saw at a Michigan International Speedway earlier on this season. That track does live on the NASCAR calendar. Really a shame, though, that this race will not be a part of the Cup schedule going forward. It is such a fantastic facility as we get set for tonight's race. 75 laps, fixed setups, no fast repairs available, 4 sets of tires, and 100% fuel capacity.
Yeah, it's sort of ironic that we're doing this track here in this series, that we're focused on legacy tracks and sort of racing the older cars, because this, of course, is now a legacy layout. A lot of fans were disappointed, Evan, about, 2 months ago, maybe a little bit more, when the pictures started surfacing on Twitter or on X or Twix or whatever you want to call it, where the track is currently being destroyed or is destroyed. That was a really hard day for some fans.
Beautiful thing about the sim is it'll live on forever and is a fan favorite, a driver favorite, and tonight it could crown a Winter Series champion. You're going to have to tune in, though, and find out. Pace car down at infield in the hands of the points leader. The 57 of Seth DeMerchant heads to the restart zone for round number 7. Let's go racing in Fontana. To the lead goes the challenger, 2 miles down, and William Schmidt from the outside takes over the race lead and leads lap number 1.
Well, I'll tell you, Evan, in a racetrack that we believe has multiple grooves, and that's what the drivers have been talking about it. You saw it live in the first lap. Agno Phillip all the way to the bottom, DeMerchant blocking the bottom, drivers up top. It's really everywhere across this field right now, and so they're going to use all of this racetrack all night long here. But I'm impressed that Schmidt went ahead and took the opportunity. He knows if DeMerchant gets away from the field, that DeMerchant sort of dominates. So Schmidt wants to do his best to block that off here and not let DeMerchant just walk away with this race and walk away with that title.
Yeah, Schmidt has had an impressive 4-race stint. Obviously, has not been able to compete in the full schedule, so not really a conversation for him at the points. But in his 4 starts, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, pretty good showing for the SKS Motorsports entry. And right now, he is leading out in front. Of course, Seth the Merchant has already scored a point tonight. He has gotten a single point for qualifying on a pole position. And William Schmidt now has locked up a single point for leading a lap in this race. Any driver who leads a lap, opportunity to get another point as well. The only other additional point up for grabs goes to the driver who leads the most. Those 3 different criteria make up all of the bonus points available across the field here tonight. And the gap between Schmidt to Merchant, pretty healthy. Michael Araya trying to make some moves from a third. The SimSpeed Shop Chevy to the outside wall. The 8-car Kamer kind of searching with them as they try to find a way to reel in that 57.
Yeah, 57 is doing a great job here, and right now it's sort of playing game of follow the leader, except for Michael Araya. Araya's already trying to rip that outside wall here, and at times seems to be getting a little bit of time off of it, but not as much as I think he wants to. Where I think he gets the most time is when the field comes back together out of the corner, and they sort of pull him into that draft. But we'll see. You know, a lot of what I heard all night long was that running that top is useful and it's successful, but it's not successful as far as saving those tires. The people right now like Schmidt and DeMerchant on the bottom will likely have an easier time.
Was able to carry the speed that time through 1 and 2, and now Laraya finds himself on the outside of DeMerchant and clears. So an early pass for P2 as Michael Laraya gets up to the runner-up position, and all of a sudden pole sitter Seth DeMerchant slides to third. I do not think, though, that it means it's time to hit the panic button. Seth is so very good at what you had just alluded to, saving tires and making that car last the entirety of the run. And granted, Derek, through the opening 6 rounds of this series, or opening 5, I should say, we were pretty consistent on the trends of the race. Every race had 4 to 5 yellows, restarts, pit strategy, and all of that. 1 week ago, though, without any of that, had an opportunity for all of the strategy to race itself through, and these drivers had to maintain their cars on the long run with a caution-free race at Charlotte. So, not going to lock that in, not going to guarantee we'll see that tonight, but these trends have changed over the course of the year, and maybe there is a point to be made about not pushing too aggressively early. I think Seth is fine with where he sits right now.
You know, and the weird thing about that caution-free race last week, Evans, it really changed some of the narrative of the conversations I had today with drivers. Like Nathan Jurgensen talked to me a lot today about, you know, could this be a one-stop race, and how do you successfully do it, you know, if there is no caution? That's not a conversation I had previously in the first 5 or 6 rounds before that. So it really did kind of change the narrative of how drivers are going to approach this race. Now, whether that be for the positive or the negative, who knows? But Jurgensen told me if you worked at it, you could make this a one-stop race, but you need to be back there behind cars drafting and fuel saving for every lap to make it work. Otherwise, this is a 2-stop race under green.
Here's a good look at this pack of cars, kind of tail end of what I would still call the lead group here. It's really about the top 9 or so. The group you're looking at right now, the 04 of Gidman and the 28 of Cody Harris. Harris having just been passed there with Nathan Jurgensen, the 31 car right in the middle, trying to get underneath him. A little bit of side-by-side action up the road as well, but the 31 of Jurgensen, the aggressor at the moment, trying to get underneath Harris, who is doing a good job of playing that defensive line. Harris has not had a good start either, right? Started third, has slipped back to P6, and well, we can toss that conversation aside for a moment. Yellow flag, an early incident in Fontana, and it is the Taurus, number 2 of Sam Nieto.
Yeah, Sam's all turned around here in the middle of the corner, so that whole conversation is thrown away to an extent here. But let's wait and see what happens to Sam here to bring out the yellow. I suspect it probably wasn't all on his own.
We're going to have to see. It was not really a huge battle when it happened. You're looking at him in the 51 behind, and it's tough to tell. I mean, the 2 pulled up in front of the 51 into the corner, and then don't know if he pulled up in front of him and then hit the brakes, or if Wetmore thought he was going to dive back low and he was kind of trying to take that Lariah line, right, of driving it in deeper up on the outside, which you can do. But either way, 2-car was in front of him and got turned around pretty quick.
Yeah, that was really quick. It's really hard for me to say, what caused what. You could almost make an argument that maybe by being now behind Nieto, Wetmore just sort of sucked into that draft and caught a little bit more speed. And the one thing for sure you saw, though, we talk about it all the time, how these cars are not even front bumper to back bumper. The ease at which Wetmore got Nieto off the ground was pretty instant. Now, here's what Jurgensen also talked to me about, Evan. He said if an early caution happens, you come in and you take gas, even if it means sacrificing track position, because he said with an early caution in the first 10 laps, he felt more comfortable about this being a one-stop race. So now I want to wait to see who takes that advice. Kyle Kammerer, everybody's down pit road.
Looks like it is a wholesale decision to come down pit road. Only one driver will opt to stay out on the racetrack. It's Mike Maddox. Everybody else is in. So with ample tire sets available, do you think the call is going to be 4 throughout the field? Obviously fuel to be able to try to change up that strategy, but let's see as they head into the boxes. William Schmidt first car in, but Merchant will have the advantage of the number 1 pit stall.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone do something different than 4 tires just to change up that track position here. We're watching these cars live, and there is both sides, of Schmidt's going up. So it must be 4 tires for everyone because no one beat him off pit road.
It was close to the line, but William Schmidt does hang on, and going to be a little bit tricky at times to track down that marker. But in the end, the 97 car stays in front. Michael Lariah, P2. Doug Roth launching all the way to 3rd, so there is a flavor of strategy. Doug Roth deciding to go fuel only on the 72's trip down to pit road, so that takes him way up the running order. Only spending about 6.9 seconds in the box. Everybody else 14.8, 14.6. So interesting call for Roth early, who started back in P20 to get the track position and the fuel and try to fight for it.
Yeah, there's a thing I've talked about before with you, Evan, about the way to be successful in business is being better than, less than, or different than your opponents. And Doug went for the different than. He went for a strategy that's not being used by others. And sometimes you have to experiment and learn and see what happens and see if it works out. I don't think with that many laps on these tires, obviously tires are always important, but I think he'll be okay.
Tom Wetmore has claimed responsibility for the incident, so he will get an end of the longest line penalty. Let's take another look back at what happened. This is Wetmore's perspective, and let's just ride as the 2-car pulls up. Certainly not off the gas until after the contact again. By driving rules of the road, Derek, the car who hits the car from behind is always at fault. Now, there are things you can do to be a defensive driver, like not pull up in front of somebody and then hit the brakes, right? So there's culpability throughout there, but again, I think it was more so Wetmore thought he was just going to tuck up and then dive back down. He was going to try to drive in aggressively topside, braked a little bit later, and got into him. And again, Wetmore obviously feeling like it was his fault, or at least the case against him was not good because he gets the EOL.
Yeah, the only question I would have would be, was that at Wetmore's normal braking spot? Had Nieto not pulled up in front of him? That would be the only question in my head. There are incidents in iRacing or stock car racing or auto racing that are obvious whose fault it is. That's something that I like to call a racing incident. I don't think anyone was truly at fault there. That was just an unfortunate meeting.
So with that incident, Mike Maddox decided to stay out. It's our first good look at the Martin Sports Extreme Performance Motorsports Chevrolet. In the winter colors on the front row, he is in control. Pace car down and in, still 64 laps to go in Fontana. Maddox takes the green flag. It was a terrible start. He is slow. Lariah dived to the inside in an attempt to avoid him. I don't know if he missed the shift or the tires were that bad to get going, but it is going to hand the lead back to Schmidt, who was on the outside.
Yeah, it does. I don't think he missed the tire or the shift or spun the tires. I think maybe the mental aspect. Hold on, we got a wreck. That's going to be down off the track. No yellow yet. That was a couple of cars. I think it was Kyle Kammer and Cody Harris turned around there out of 2.
So the caution will not come out from the tower. If the sim does not automatically trigger a yellow, race control can do so if the incident involves 3 cars or more. It does not meet that criteria, so we stay green, and that's bad luck for those drivers, kind of twofold, because you're in the incident and there's no yellow, so now you're way behind.
Way behind. Let me come back and finish the point, though. I think what happened to Mike Maddox, I think he sort of psyched himself out, Evan. When you are the only driver who doesn't take tires, you get in your head a little bit when it comes to those restarts about, okay, don't spin the tires, don't mess this up, I don't want to wreck the field. And you, by default, can become too conservative where you don't do anything wrong. You're just not as on the point as you need to be. And I think that's what happened to Maddox. And, man, the field just swarmed him instantly and put him back in the pack.
Some 3 wide in the midfield, 2 wide there as well. It's a great look as they all dice throughout. And let's take a look back to see what happened there off of turn number 2 on the restart. And it was the 8 who got either hit or sideways and then came down into Harris. That's how they ended up in that massive paved inside portion of the back straightaway. All of that space coming in handy because I don't think either of those drivers could walk away with any significant damage as the battle for the race lead is back on. Schmidt got the kind of free-handed spot to the race lead courtesy of being the second car in line to the outside, but here comes Lariah, huge head of steam, and to the outside he goes side by side for the race lead at lap 16, and Lariah keeping it parked on the outside wall.
And this is sort of an important moment for Lariah because right now Seth the Merchant has not led a lap. So if Lariah can get up here and do it, he sort of washes away that 1 point that the Merchant got for the pole. It sort of makes it back to sort of a zero-sum game. You know, at this point in the evening, Lariah here trying to ride up high. Can he carry that momentum out of the corner is the question. It looks like he will, or it's going to be a beautiful drag race here to the line.
Seth was able to gain on the bottom, and so was Lariah topside. You've got a new race leader. After 16 laps, it's Michael Lariah to the point. He'll stay topside, and now as Schmidt holds the bottom, Seth the Merchant in the de facto middle lane in a drag race for second is going to get the run off of turn number 2. He's got that spot, and now Schmidt sliding in the wrong direction. He falls to third. It's the lowest we have seen him all night long, and now Seth the Merchant can square up with Michael Lariah trying to chase down for that number 1 spot.
You know, the ironic thing about that moment right there where Lariah led the lap, Evan, is I think that actually what happened is the Merchant got upside Schmidt and sort of side drafted Schmidt and held him up. Therefore, Lariah beat him to the line. In a way, you could argue that Seth almost gave Lariah the points, but now they're side by side, and now DeMerchant wants that lead back here on lap 18. The question is, can he get it? Then this is a great battle between 2 tremendous drivers.
Looking to the inside there, unable to carry the speed through. Now they'll go for a role reversal. The 44 machine of Lariah on the bottom. We've seen him up top this entire run. Seth going to go to the outside, and now he's got the run off of turn 4 to the nose in front into a bonus point in his back pocket. Lap led for championship leader Seth the Merchant. He is clear for the number 1 position as Lariah slides back to P2. So 3 different leaders in the span of 4 laps. Now has that number 57 machine of DeMerchant on the top of the scoring pylon. And now William Schmidt wants some revenge. He goes right back down to the inside of Michael Lariah in a battle for second spot. Don't count out that red 94. Agnell Phillips struggled on the opening start of this race. He is in the hunt from P4.
Man, what a great battle we're seeing here. And by the way, that puts DeMerchant back +1, Evan. DeMerchant now has the pole and has led a lap. Lariah just has the lap led. So DeMerchant is back to being +1 here. But what really I think is going to start happening, look at Agnell here, by the way. Look at that. Whenever I see a driver biting their lip like that, Evan, to me it means they're probably having a rough time in that car. You're sort of stressed out. You need some kind of stress relief or whatever you want to call it. I think this car is a little bit of a handful for Agnell, and that's why we're seeing that sort of stressed out, biting the lip. That's not normal for Agnell that I can recall.
Normally he looks a little bit more calm than that, and normally he is the driver that everybody else is chasing. This is a different spot for him, playing on the back foot in the championship and in the race. Of course, the constant reminder of that Cup Series title belt, that Winter Series Silver Cup as well, in the background of a shot all the time. This is a well-accomplished driver here on these Monday nights, and is expected to be the driver to win. 3-4 years ago, he was the challenger, the driver who was on the top were the Friedosches of the world, and it's been a reversal since. He is the guy that they are all aiming to beat, but when you've got the homegrown talent inside of RSR is nearly 3 wide there, with the Donnie Ford trying to make it through the middle and just unable to make it stick. But you've got the homegrown talent, the likes of Lariah, who have gone through the ranks and found their speed and found their talent and been able to develop all of that here in RSR, to the likes of Seth the Merchant, right, who will be competing this year in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as a rookie. There are multi-facets of different drivers, backgrounds, and stories in this IceBreaker Winter Series.
And that's the beautiful part about this series, right, is that you can, be a driver who's homegrown, as you said, and work your way through and race and rub elbows with these guys and learn from them on a weekly basis. It's an amazing opportunity, an amazing experience if you take advantage of it and learn from it, like Michael Lariah has here. Now, what's happening in this moment in front of you on your screen is Seth the Merchant's now being typical Seth the Merchant, starting to pull away here. And what he loves to see, by the way, Evan, is that 3-wide battle right there. That's Lariah, that's Schmidt, that's Phillip. And the more they battle and the more they slow each other up, the more Seth the Merchant gets to have a little bit more track space between him and the rest of the field.
He would prefer that this battle continues on, and a new competitor has entered the fray as the number 7, Kyle Trudell. No time in practice, no time in qualifying, but is marching up and into the top 5 for the first time tonight. Now he is on the back bumper of Schmidt and looking to the inside into turn 1. So here comes Trudell. How about 2 sets of 2x2, fighting for second and fighting for fourth?
Yeah, doing a great job here on track and trying to keep in the battle here. But look at that pack behind him staying competitive, whether it be Jurgensen, Grindel, Freenash, Stevenson on back, who are loving to see these 2x2 battles because it brings them a little bit closer into the mix here and doing a pretty great job. But right now, Agnew Phillip just trying to clear Lariah, trying to find a way to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe at some point either Lariah or Phillip tries to squeeze the other to help get a little bit of an advantage here.
Lariah has been a multi-sport athlete in terms of working the top, working the bottom, and he continues to crisscross there and back, seemingly with every passing lap. Schmidt got a little bit loose that time off of turn 2, but Agnew Phillip has got the speed to keep the pressure up on your P2 competitor, and slowly, DeMerchant is building his gap. It is still only about 0.4 of a second, but it is very clearly, just by the visual, the biggest advantage that he has had all night long. And again, Lariah, better topside. Same with Schmidt in the battle between him and Trudell. It's tricky for those cars on the bottom to be able to get that speed off the corner to complete these passes. It's seemingly a good defensive line for the 44 and the 97 to continue to do what they're doing up top.
Yeah, they're doing a great job up top here and trying just to run those lines and be calm. Lariah, of course, has now cleared Phillip and is now running in line here. I want to put this in your head, though, Evan. We talked about how some of the drivers were wondering about a one-stop race. Either Seth the Merchant thinks he's comfortable with how much gas he has in making a one-stop race, or Seth isn't interested in that strategy, because to me, with that gap he has, if he was interested in a one-stop race, he would be back there a little bit battling or saving gas, but he's not. Man, look at back there in 8th. They're not. No one's saving. Look at back in 8th here. 2x2 again. Now 3 wide. So apparently everyone's either really comfortable or no one cares about this one-stop idea. I'm not sure which yet.
Maybe a bit of both as well, and you'll see. That battle for 8th position isn't too far behind the battle for 4th. There is a gap, but it's maybe about 0.8 of a second, but certainly some separation between that lead pack of 7 cars. And for what is going on in 8th spot on back is the 47 to Don Stevenson. The pink car there, the leader of that group, is a big wiggle that time for Harry Grindell on the outside of 4. Is going to allow the 47 to win that race to the stripe. Stevenson, the highest he's been all night long. He's made his march through the field at passing 6 cars. Of course, Grindell in his own right, up 15. So many of these drivers have been making moves early. Been a quiet year so far for Grant Davis. He's right there. Andrew Freenosh as well. The 88 car slices up in line. Oh, there's contact. Tice trying to go underneath. He made contact, and now Freenosh into the outside wall. No caution. We stay green, and an avoidable contact between those two.
Wow, what a moment right there. And weirdly enough, the scariest moment for me wasn't Freenosh. It was how that Kellogg's Cornflakes car went to the bottom and sort of shot through like a rocket. I wasn't sure how that car was going to handle it, but he's just fine up ahead. Man, that was a scary moment. Andrew seems to be still going here, though, so maybe all's well that ends well for now, other than just that mental frustration of what happened. Man, that 5 car, though, he shot through the Joseph Tice. I thought for sure he was off the track and going to be in trouble, but held on to it.
He did make some additional contact, I believe, with Maverick Davis, but it was, for all things considered, pretty minuscule. Neither of those cars wrecked, and again, this race stays green. I'm always curious, and as we take a look at the replay and we'll watch this again, he pulls up in line. Tice waits that extra second before trying to carry that speed to the bottom and just clipped the left rear quarter panel of Andrew Freenosh's car, and that's why he got turned sideways and into the wall. The driver radio chat was silent after that. There are some drivers, they could hit a bump wrong, and they're going to be queuing up and letting everybody know about it. They were completely silent. Nobody made any comments. I don't know if that means they're taking that one well or if they're really upset, but if anybody says anything, we'll let you know.
Yeah, big story, though. Freenosh down pit road, Evan. So that is a moment to keep an eye on, or to keep a thought on. He is down pit road. No required repairs that I can tell, but has went ahead and decided to put this car on pit road and get some repairs done.
Yeah, that car is getting worked on pit road, and he is not currently behind the wheel of the 88. I think Andrew's somebody who would typically wait to see the video before making any comments on it. But again, not really actively in this championship battle. In the area, P6 in the points, not insignificant, but not really in contention to fight for it. Damaged car, his night was done. He takes a look at the replay, and without an additional comment, Andrew Freenosh is gone. He is done for the night. That car will DNF as he takes it behind the wall. So quite a turn of events. That one does not trigger a yellow. We continue on, and now we start to close in on the halfway point in this Fontana 75. DeMerchant, that last time by, led his 14th lap of the afternoon. That ties William Schmidt with the most laps led so far. Schmidt, the teal or blue 44 car there, 97 sliding in front of the 44 Lariah. So that's important because this time by, DeMerchant will now have led the most laps on the night. And that is not what everybody else wants to see, Derek, is DeMerchant on pole with a bonus point, leading a lap with a bonus point, leading the most laps with a bonus point, and sitting P1. He is currently trying to finish out a max points night where he runs.
Yeah, that puts him +2 to Lariah, at least for the moment, unless someone can get up there and lead more laps. That thought you had a second ago, I want to expand on that, about how drivers react to things. That's an invaluable thing that I think is very different. There are drivers who, as you said, get very silent or are very polite about it. The one that comes to mind while he's not racing tonight, if you ever watch Casey Kerwin's stream, you are hard-pressed to see Casey react negatively to anything that happens on track, at least on stream, right? And you compare him to other drivers who I probably shouldn't name, who react to everything, right? Who maybe get a lot of views on their streams because people love those heated live wired moments where you just react to everything. You get upset, maybe you use some words, or you just you lose your focus. And to me, the drivers who can kind of stay silent and use that anger as motivation, typically to me are ones that I respect more, or I think are better in regrouping faster than the ones who get upset and have words. I've never been one to understand why someone, don't let it get to you in the moment. There's still a race going on.
And there are drivers who can compete at the very top levels who will react completely differently, right? The total opposite ends of that spectrum. It could be a Carb Cup race, and somebody does something silly to take me out. I'm not real happy about it. That's why the push-to-talk button on a wheel is not active in hosted racing or some stuff like that. Some drivers can get in trouble if they start yelling at people on the mic. But no comments there. I'm sure they may have had some on internal radio, but at least nothing that they felt the entire field needed. Back not that long ago, drivers had the ability in the Cup Series to talk to one another. I always think it's interesting what is said on the driver radio, right? So in Discord or whatever their private channel is, whether it's TeamSpeak or in the sim, and then what they decide to actually say over that driver's chatter, which everybody, including us, can listen into. Again, for the most part, we will relay those messages to you because you never know what happens on the open chatter. Try to keep things family friendly, at least on the language side of things. But so far, so good in this one. And again, that near moment following the contact with Freenosh and took him out of this race. Tice still on track, P9, relatively unaffected by that. Going to be halfway through this race at about 2 laps. DeBurchin's advantage continues to grow. He's now 7/10 over the 97 of William Schmidt. Schmidt has been doing a good job of holding off Agnew. Phillip, things have calmed for the moment, I would say, amongst your top 5.
Yeah, things have sort of calmed right now. And now we see DeMerchant up here running the top lane here and getting that good run off of the corner. Now, the reason why drivers like to run the top, Evan, is that you do get a better run off the corner because you're able to carry more speed through the corner. So sometimes that's preferred. And also, at a track like this, it feels like almost that passing up top is easier than passing on the bottom at times. So by running the wall, you sort of force your opponent to have to, dig to the bottom. And it just, whether sometimes in a driver's mind, even if it's not real, it feels real. And that's just as important as what's going on here. Here's Harry Grindell, by the way, back here with Maverick Davis. Harry tonight told me he was curious to see how the lines would play out on this racetrack. Of course, we're a month in to the oval refresh. We're still running some tracks for the first time with this new process from iRacing about how grooves are going to form, how we're going to see more of the marks of the grooves forming on the track, tires warming up, tracks warming up. It's all in the works, at least, if not live already. So Harry was very intrigued to see if this would be a multi-groove race, and so far it really has been.
We've seen drivers use those different lanes running on their own. And in these side-by-side battles, as loose that time was the 12 of Cato. Got a little bit squirrely off for turn number 4 as I think it was more of a reaction to Harry Grindell, who got a little bit loose at his own right. The 12 kind of flinched. What that does is gives Grindell the number 11 spot, so Harry's up a solid 13 from the get-go in this race. I don't think he's going to drive away, though. I think he, Cato, and then that 2 Nieto back there are pretty even on time. It is surprising to note, we talked about Tom Wetmore earlier, who had that incident that dropped him back through the field when he got the end of the longest line of penalty. At the time of the incident, he was up in P9, and it just has not come back together for him since. He's running about 16 seconds off of the leaders at 18th, so it has taken the TubeTech entry out of relevancy.
Meanwhile, really not out of relevancy is the car he was involved with. There's Sam Nieto. Back still, in the teens. I think back in 13th currently. But compared to where he could have been after getting spun like that, that's a good run to be back up to 13th. He's now making a pass here. And that's a great pass there. That is going to be... I don't know who that was on the side of him.
No, into the
I missed the number.
Wall, into the outside wall around Cato was the Grindell machine. So the 70 got into the fence. He went 3 wide to clear them all. And now it's Dylan Coyle joining the party in the 79 car. Some different colors on his Mara Motorsports entry. But now he's under fire by Madazzi Major, who has not changed up the paint scheme on his Sprite Chevy. It's the Winter Spiced Cranberry. I know it took us a while to nail that one. He's been running that paint scheme all winter series long. And there's that Sprite car ripping the top side, but Coyle slides in between the two. So got a couple of battles going on here in the midfield as we go on board with our RaceSpotTV colleague Dylan Coyle. And again, fresh out of surgery, first race back, feeling okay, he said, and trying to get back into the swing of things. Having a good race so far, keeping the nose clean.
You know, the interesting thing about Dylan, we talked to him earlier. He told us this paint scheme is inspired by a virtual EA football club team that him and his friends have put together. He says it's accidentally he has this livery or this paint scheme on, but Evans, you notice the lights in his room? They match that car. I don't think it's an accident. I'm going to put the conspiracy out there. I don't think it was an accident.
Or you can at least adapt well and changed the LED lights in the room to match the paint scheme. But nonetheless, there it is. Yeah, you can
there it
is. The pink and the light blue. Coincidence or conspiracy? You let us know in the YouTube chat. But holy sideways, and you can see his reaction there as he went up in front of an Nazi Major, and the 82 car swerved to avoid, and we've got pit action. Trudell is in. This is right on the money. We last pitted 32 laps ago under yellow, and there are 32 laps to go in this race next time by. So this is when you want to come down pit road. Trudell, the first driver to do it. He did have some issues into the box, though, so that's going to hurt the 7, but at least he's in nonetheless, as now the number 90 car, DeAndre Kane, also down pit road.
Yeah, that, as you said, will hurt Trudell. He missed the box and had to back it up a little bit, so that will hurt. Now we're waiting to see when everyone else wants to come down in and who wants to try to do what here. As you said, right now we're working lap 43. We're 32 to go, so I would want to believe that this is a one-stop race for everybody as of this point. Look at Agnew Phillip, by the way, closing that gap. That's as close as we've seen someone to Seth the Merchant in a long time now.
Seth has been on cruise control for a while, but Agnell long able to get around William Schmidt. That battle went on for quite some time, and again, when you get to the level that these two have been at, Seth making it to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series for Agnew Phillip, making it to some of those top rungs of the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder. Your strength really is tire saving. It is managing these cars throughout a run, and there is no shock that when a green flag run breaks out, these are the two that are in it. Pit road action continues. Schmidt, Lariah, Davis, Tice, Stevenson, Major, Coyle, Wetmore, Harris, they're all down pit road. And the 94 of Agnew Phillip from P2 says that he is pitting this time as well. Nieto also going to pit from P5. Does DeMerchant come down as well? He holds the bottom of the racetrack. He does. So for the race lead, it'll come to pit road. Big slide by DeMerchant allows Phillip to close the gap to 1 car length.
Here we go. And this is the battle right here. Is now it's who can play with the throttle a little bit more, who can tempt that speed limit, who can play with it, who can flirt with it, and not get caught. That little oomph of time on pit road as far as what speed you're going can make a difference here. This, of course, is Agnew Phillip we're on board with. We'll see the car go up. Everyone will be 4 tires here. I don't see how you're not 4 tires as of this point. And let's see who pulls away first. I mean, Agnew's pulled away a little bit early just based upon if he stopped first. Let's see if he closes that gap here. Man, this feels like a long stop. Here he is. And that's a big go. Look at that.
Got him. On the outside, Agnew Phillip will pass Seth the Merchant, not for the lead right now, but for what will likely cycle through to be the lead. And the difference was really on the entry and the exit, because in the box, Agnew 15.2, Seth 14.8. He was actually slower in the box, but it was everything else. It was the time on pit road. Agnew 47.1, Seth 47.8. You might think, well, how can he be faster on pit road? Pit road speed limit's the same. Seth gave away some time by sliding through the entry, may have been a little bit slower in and out of the box itself, and that makes up the difference in the end. It's a net win for Agnew Phillip, and because of that, now he will cycle through to P5. They're going to have to pass some cars. Schmidt, Lariah, Jurgensen, all those cars in front of them are, in fact, in front of them. They've all pitted. They got the fresher tires sooner. But you anticipate things to cycle through, and is that going to be a race-winning pit stop cycle for Agnew Phillip?
Yeah, it very well may be. And that other point to talk about, how do you gain time on pit road? It could really honestly be how well you enter pit road. That's so important in a race with drivers of this caliber. Do you get down to the speed limit barely? Do you just get there? Do you slow down too much, have to pick up the speed? That can matter a lot as well here. So right now, Agno Phillip is doing better. By the way, good news for Michael Laraya as he's running down Schmidt. At least Schmidt is now getting some of those laps led back to help even that count against Seth the Merchant. So right now, Seth still leads the most laps, but that gap is closing a little by a little as we go in here. 28 to go.
Yeah, what the other drivers in this championship would want, Laraya, Phillip, Jurgensen, would be for William Schmidt to lead the next 13 laps to get to 29 laps led total, right? Get ahead of Seth and then bow out and let those guys go up there and try to compete for the win. There's only 26 laps left to go in this race. So for somebody like an Agno Phillip, who has not yet officially led a lap tonight, Jurgensen, Trudell, there's no shot at them for leading the most laps in this race. So it will likely be the speed of Agnell, if he gets to the lead before Seth does, that actually gives Seth the bonus point, because, again, there is no world in which Agno Phillip can lead the most laps. There are not enough laps left to get that tally, so he needs Schmidt to lead some. Again, the bigger goal is the win, right? P1 is 5 points more than P2. That's the only time where the gap per position in points is more than one, right? 40 for the win, 35 for second, and then from there on it goes by 1 point. 34 points for third, and so on and so forth. So the desire to win trumps that. That one bonus point's not going to deter somebody from going for the win, but if in the unlikely event Seth does not win this championship, it's likely going to come down to an extremely small margin, so those numbers are important. I think it is worth noting Schmidt's gap over Laraya has been holding for the moment, so we'll just keep that in mind. The battle inside of the top 5, left-hand side of your screen. A battle for 10th on the right side. Maverick Davis, Kyle Kamer, and Don Stevenson all came out of pit road together. It's settled for the moment, but they've been busy after the pit cycle, as this time by 25 laps to go.
Yeah, everyone's been busy right now. Everyone's now officially sort of made that proverbial bed. Everyone has made the decision on when they were going to pit. They've put the tires on. The gas is in. Now you just got to go out and run the car. Those decisions are over unless a pesky yellow flag comes out. Your car is what your car is. So you just got to go running. Oh, here's Agno Phillip now digging to the inside of Doug. And man, that's a tight battle around here, and it's going to be side by side here. And if you're Agno Phillip, you really just want this guy to get out of the way. You really just want to have to battle him that hard. You're trying to get to the front and get away from Seth the Merchant. You'd love nothing more than to put a lapped car between you two and see if that lapped car can hold Seth up while you pull away from it. There you go. That's what he wants to see. Now let's get around Kyle Trudell here. All the while, let's keep that car under control.
Doug Roth going to end up between Phillip and Merchant for the moment. Not enough of a run for the 94 car of Phillip to make a move on the 7 yet. Worth noting, Trudell pitted about 3 laps earlier than Agnell, so of course going to be at a slight tire deficit. Of course, Agnell had been having the better run anyway, so faster car, newer tires, going to give the 94 the upper hand. And look at that side-by-side again, going on again, almost 3 wide. With the Benazzi Major slicing down in front, you got Gidman, Sam Nieto in the mix as well. This battle all going on for 12th on back.
Yeah, there's Ross Cato in the back, Kyle Kammerer in the back. Everyone here jockeying for position. And to me, as an iRacing member, Evan, this is my favorite style of racing right here in the car. When you're around 3 or 4 cars and you're always kind of digging for a lane, you're always trying to make something happen. This to me is the biggest thrill because you feel like you're doing something. You feel like you're in a battle. You feel like you're winning something. Sure, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely fun to be in William Smith's spot and be leading this race. But when you're out there turning laps, you can sort of lose that adrenaline. You sort of lose that feeling. I would love to be like a Ross Cato right in the thick of this, trying to find out how to make this line work and see what I could walk away with.
See if he commits to that top side or if he is forced to move around the racetrack and try to make some different lanes work. Again, throughout the course of this race, there's been a decent amount of success of drivers trying to multiple lanes and moving around to try to make their lane work to their advantage. But it'll be 2 sets of 2. side by side between Nieto and Major, and then behind them between Cato and Gidman. It's all 10 seconds behind the race leader, but that doesn't matter to them. Fighting for everything they can, and Major topside wins out ahead of the Miller Lite number 2 of Nieto for now.
Yeah, right now Major is leading them around and having a lot of fun doing it. Everyone, by the way, look at those cars. Everyone's got them under control. I wasn't sure how these cars were going to react on this racetrack, but the cars seem fairly calm compared to what I think they'll be next week in Atlanta. No big handling problems. No one's, sliding the cars around, nothing like that. So great job for those guys. Now we're back here at Agno, Phillips, Seth, DeMerchant. And DeMerchant right now is just, I think he's trying to ride in the back of Agno. He's not going to touch him, Evan, but he's playing those mind games. He's sort of, hey, I'm here. Hey, let me see if I can push you into making a mistake. Let me just kind of be all in your back mirror.
There is the constant effort of forcing the issue and making somebody else make a mistake. And this could be good news long-term in this race if Schmidt, Lariah, Jurgensen want to try to win this thing or stay ahead of these two, because if they start fighting now, they're going to start to tear up their advantage, wear down those tires. Last lap around, William Schmidt put down a 49.58. It was an 8.53 for Phillip. That is still faster, but that is not significantly faster. So I think it is unfair to, maybe present it as they're going to march to the front. Certainly you would expect them to cycle through based on where everybody was when they pitted. But the more that 94 is going to work for each spot, and maybe the more he and the 57 pressure each other, means that there is no guarantee that this battle between Phillip and Merchant for 4th right now will ever become the battle for the race lead.
No, the question will be in about 9 laps or so. We get about 10 to go, and there's a little bit more wear on Schmidt's tires. That's when I wonder what that will look like as far as the times gained here. By the way, you see Nathan Jurgensen as sort of the front of this camera shot right here on the top of your screen, Evan. Jurgensen's had a tough weekend and had a great run into Daytona 24 with his team. They led as of the 15-hour mark, had some engine problems, and had to retire the car at the 15-hour mark over the weekend, Evan. So Jurgensen would love to have a great run here and have some redemption in some form for a really, really tough weekend.
Always love to find some momentum, end it on a high note. And again, Jurgensen, somebody who came to participate in this RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series because of the decision to go to these cars. He said, I'm here because I want to drive the Gen 4 Cup car. Normally spots for Agno Phillip, and it has been a good run for the A51 Pro. Of course, the A51 Pro Altus team, that alliance, won the Cup Series championship. Right now, just the A51 Pro team of Agno, Nathan, and Cody lead the team standings by only 6 over Flat Out Esports. And right now, they're trying to go flat out to hold off to Merchant, who might get both of them. They're going to go 3 wide. Not more into the outside wall. Phillip could not make it fit on the outside of Jurgensen. And DeMerchant gets 2 for the price of 1 as he sneaks to P3.
What a great move by DeMerchant right there. Just taking advantage here. Been kind of lurking in the background and waiting for that moment to happen here. Now he's got clean air ahead of him. Now he's got no one to follow. No one's breaking points to worry about. No turn-ins, no cutoffs, no cutting of a nose. Now it's literally just DeMerchant and clean air. It's basically just a battle of lap time at this point, because it's not as if Schmidt has any draft to worry about or to help him here. So this is literally going to be lap time versus lap time with 15 to go. I don't think he has enough to get there. I guess we'll wait and find out.
And now you start to look at the times, and here's it all again. They caught up to Jurgensen. Seth went low. Jurgensen moved up to yield to him, and then the 94, that move was just too late. The Jurgensen is close to sealing off Agno late, but Agno's well in the wall before he gets there. The gap was there. It was just too late of a move to try to give that wheel that quick sprint to the right and bring it back in, that the car slid off and into the fence. And now Jurgensen and Phillip fighting for 4th. Phillip making the pass. Jurgensen slides to 5th. Now the question is, again, it's more of a mathematical one now. It comes down to lap times. DeMerchant's disadvantage to William Schmidt grew that last lap. William Schmidt has now led 30 laps. He's led more than DeMerchant. That steals a single point away from the 57. That is relatively good news for everybody else, but it can only be so good news if DeMerchant's still outrunning you.
Yeah, right. That's the problem you can have here right now, is if DeMerchant is going to outrun you, we'll have to wait and see. But man, with 14 to go, Schmidt's holding a great, comfortable lead here. I don't think Seth's going to run him down. I think that question we had about tires and cycles and when he pitted seems to be kind of put to bed here. I want to come back to that point, though, about we saw that three-wide battle with Agnell, Jurgensen, and DeMerchant, and talk about it for a second, though, Evan, because that moment right there, to me, that's the biggest difference between new iRacing members and experienced iRacing members. You talked about having to make that move instantly, having to kind of snap in there, get in a lane, and be comfortable doing that. That's the biggest difference between like a Seth DeMerchant and Agnell Phillip, or drivers who have experience versus a newbie driver who wants to kind of slowly merge lanes like we're out, just on a normal, street in a normal car. You have to be willing just to get in there and snap that lane and claim your spot. Otherwise, you end up just like Nathan Jurgensen did.
And now we're closing in on 10 laps to go in this race, with William Schmidt looking to secure the race win. Like I mentioned, Schmidt not competing on a full-time basis, only 4 starts so far this season in the SKS Motorsports entry, but in those 4, he has been mighty good. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He has been very good, but as funny enough, coming into this, yet to lead a lap so far this year. So kind of a breakthrough night for Schmidt, given the fact that, yeah, he had run well, but not quite that well.
Kind of a story of what could have been, right? Just makes you wonder if William had been here from the beginning, where he would be in this conversation with DeMerchant and Phillip and Jurgensen and Mariah and all the Lariah, and all the others. It just makes you wonder that story and those questions come into play here. With 11 to go, almost 10 to go, still a comfortable lead, about 1 second over Lariah and almost 3 seconds still over Seth. And I don't think we're going to see any traffic in the way, or at least I don't think we're going to. This is purely just basically a hot lap challenge as of this point.
William Schmidt has never won a race in the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. He does have 1 RSR win over the course of his 97 career starts across all of the divisions in RealSimRacing, but is looking for his first win in the Winter Series, and it could come here this afternoon. His 1 Cup race win coming in 2022 in the Daytona 250 to open the season. So it's impressive stuff for him. Daytona in the duels even, so non-points competition. So looking for a big moment if the 97 can make it happen. Lariah is more of a threat, I think, than DeMerchant, right? DeMerchant's still 2.9 to back. I don't think we can quite write him off, but I'm more focused about Lariah. That 44 is ripping the top. I don't know if Schmidt's gone up top in response to that, but he's gone to that same line that Lariah's running out of the mirror.
Yeah, that's what's happening here. So it's hard for me to think short of something weird happening, that either Lariah or DeMerchant is a threat to the win as of this point. I mean, that gap to Lariah is holding steady about 1.1 seconds. If anything, Seth is gaining. It almost makes you wonder if the story can end up being, does Seth run down Lariah? With only 9 to go or 8 to go now, I don't think so. But that seems to be the more likely of the 2 scenarios in this moment here. Now, what's likely going on for Schmidt in that car, Evan? Maybe a little bit of nerves. That sounds weird, right? That he was winning. Why would he be nervous? A lot of times in a league like RSR, full of big names and road to pro drivers and Coke drivers and former Coke drivers and high I ratings, you want to win so bad that when you're in a winning position, you just start to kind of get a little antsy. Your heart rate gets up a little bit. It just, those things happen. You can get inside your head, and what seems like a normal lap or an easy lap can easily become a problem just because how antsy and how nervous you get and how excited you get knowing there's only 7 laps to go.
You almost try to be too perfect with it. You force yourself to be a little bit too close to the wall to get that perfect lap, or get to the back to the gas a little bit too soon, and that overthinking Could be a downfall. In the last couple of laps, Michael Araya has closed the gap just a little bit. 41.805 for Schmidt last lap. It was a 6.90 for Araya at a tenth of a second per lap. He will be there if he can maintain that through the end of this race. Schmidt searching, though, right middle of the racetrack, that time in 3 and 4, whereas Araya seems pretty consistent. He's up top no matter where he's at.
And right now with these Gen 4 cars, about the 1 second to 8/10 of a second, that's where you can start to feel that draft effect. That's where you can start to feel that draft pulling you down the back straight or pulling you through the front straight here. With them running different lines to the corners, it won't matter there. But if Araya can start to feel that draft, he will gain a little bit faster and faster and faster just because of that little bit of draft he's going to get here, and it will help him close that gap here. So Schmidt is probably not really looking at the front window, Evan. He's probably driving from the mirror.
And that's why I wonder if that move to the outside was a response. Again, Merchant watching on as well. Lap time's going to clock in this time. 0.931 for Schmidt. 7.53 for Araya. It's down to 7/10 of a second. He is that much closer, but at 5 laps to go, Araya needs to maintain at least 1, if not 2 tenths every single lap. And DeMerchant now closer to Araya than Araya is to William Schmidt. Is there a scenario in which these three come together in the waning moments as William Schmidt tries to hang on for his first RSR points race win? 4 laps to go this time by. The battle's going to be on for second.
Wow, look at that battle for a second. It closed up fast, didn't it? I mean, now only about 4/10 of a second between them, and Araya needs to keep DeMerchant behind him because of that points battle we talked about all night long. Right now, they're dead even on the bonus points, 1 apiece, or I guess no, 2 apiece. No, only 1 apiece right now. So right now, it's dead even on this race. Araya needs to keep DeMerchant behind him. But they both need to really get up there and almost be committed to running down Schmidt. Maybe you almost want to be, your enemy needs to be your friend right now. Get in line, go catch William Schmidt, and then worry about the battle.
And the lap prior to this one is where Araya lost it. He just made a mistake. He was just too slow, right? That lap 41.780, that's fine. The lap prior to that, there was just a mistake somewhere on track of 42.3. It was the slowest lap he's had in the second half of this race. And I think he would have had the pace to get there, but that one lap, whatever the mistake it was, meant that instead of fighting Schmidt for the race lead, he's going to be fighting against DeMerchant for second on track because DeMerchant gets to the inside, and the fight's going to be side by side for second place. Coming to 2 laps to go this time by, and DeMerchant is clear. The 44 won't go down without a fight. Araya crosses back over to the inside, but they're going to get to the white flag the next time by for this race to be official.
And that's the best news possible for William Schmidt. We talked about it all night long. Let these guys fight behind you. Now, what they're almost doing correctly, Evan, in a weird way, they're doing the old IndyCar slingshot, where they're sort of propelling each other towards the front. But with a lap and a half to go, about 3 miles, I don't know that they're going to get there.
If they get to the white flag, this race is official. Only the one yellow early, a green flag cycle of pit service that saw Schmidt undercut DeMerchant and Phillip. And now, with 1 lap to go, this race is official. White flag in California. Out in front, William Schmidt still at a 4/10 of a second advantage. It is close, but is it going to be close enough? They've got a big head of steam through turn number 2. Araya gets too much, though. Sideways and into the outside wall. Now Schmidt serpentining down the back straightaway, trying to break the draft. Schmidt 1, Araya 2, DeMerchant from 3rd. He'll slide to the inside, trying to make a challenge for 2nd. And they both might be faster, but they're going to run out of time. William Schmidt gets his first RSR points race win here in Fontana.
Breathe easy, driver. You've done it. Win number 1.
And William comes over. Remember we talked about that open driver radio channel? I can't say everything that he told us, but he said that was the longest 10 laps of my entire life. They had the chance not only to Merchant, but Lariah as well. It just all goes back, Derek, to that one lap where Lariah made a mistake, cost himself a half a second. In the end, the margin of victory is 0.3. That was the difference maker there. But admittedly, if this was a 76-lap race, we may have been talking about a different race winner because they got there quick in the end. But hats off to William Schmidt, closing in on 100 career RSR starts and has the biggest win of his career thus far here.
Look at this moment of relief he's going to have right here, Evan. He has to breathe easy, let some emotion out, and now we're going to see if he knows how to do a burnout.
The celebration is on, and a long time coming. For the first time since the 2022 Cup Series duels at Daytona, William Schmidt has collected a checkered flag on a Real Sim Racing Monday night. He is your winner of tonight's Fontana 75, and he's got plenty of places to celebrate. He might take a trip over to Victory Lane. It's not that far over there as well, but it would have well-deserved victory for the driver of the 97. Let's talk full race results tonight in this one. Again, the final margin of victory, just over 0.3 of a second, as William Schmidt claims victory. Michael Lariah, P2, and Seth the Merchant may have done enough in the points conversation with a third-place finish. We'll update you on that, and we'll also talk to those three finishers in just a few moments. Agano Phillip, who led this race at the green flag pit cycle, but it couldn't come together. He got pressure from Seth and then made a mistake, got into the outside wall, making a move on Jurgensen, settles for fourth, and the aforementioned Nathan number 31 car comes home in P5. Grant Davis, sixth tonight. Joseph Tice finishes in seventh. Maverick Davis, eighth. Kyle Trudell, ninth. And Ross Cato in 10th.
Moving back into P11, you'll find Sam Nieto in that number 2 car, with Don Stevenson right behind him and Minotti Major in 13th. Then Harry Grindell, Galen Gidman, Braden Whitaker, Dylan Coyle, Cody Harris, Kyle Cameron, and DeAndre Kane round out your top 20.
And continuing on through, these drivers did not get the nights that they wanted. Doug Roth finishes just one lap down in 21st, but it'll be DNFs for the rest of them. Tom Wetmore, Andrew Freenosh, and Mike Maddox unable to make it the scheduled distance in this race. Of course, tough break for Freenosh, who had a okay night going, top 10 car throughout, but had an incident with the 5 of Tice early in the race and was not able to come back, parked it, and does not make it the scheduled distance. Well, we're waiting on your race winner to come down and be available for some post-race interviews, but Michael Lariah, who comes home second tonight, is standing by, Derek. So let's start there. We'll toss things off to you with the driver of the 44.
Well, Michael, what a last couple of laps you had with Seth, and what a battle it was. Talk to me those last couple of laps. What was going through your head?
Well, I saw Seth closing in fast, and I knew he was going to start making it interesting, and William was doing just a hell of a job. I got to give him a huge shout-out tonight. I don't know if it's his first RSR win, but extremely well-deserved. Maybe with about 10 laps to go, I had one shot at getting maybe to his bumper. I was starting to close in just gradually, but pushed it a little bit too far through 1 and 2, and I just started scraping the wall, and then with these cars, it's so hard to get off the wall once that happens. So I kind of knew from that point I was racing for second. Kind of surprised I was able to hold off Seth there at the end because, man, he was making a huge charge. But kind of just drove it in real hard, one of the corners, and was able to give myself a little bit of a buffer then to run the top again and just kind of defend. But I feel like I was pretty much doing all I could to catch William, and even if I got to his bumper, I feel like unless he made a major mistake or just his tires were totally going there, I think he would have been able to, put up a really good defense and be extremely tough to get around him. So I think I needed to just stay a little bit closer to him once we got off pit road to, maybe apply a little bit more pressure throughout that whole run, but just doing what I could to save initially and then rip the top to try to make something happen. But he was very versatile. He could run either line, and that's extremely important if you're able to do that at a track like this. So just well-deserved on his part.
Yeah, your RSR trivia is almost perfect. William has won a non-points race in RSR, but never a points race, so this will be his first one there. Well, we're working on the points right now. It's going to be close between you and Seth going into Old Atlanta next week. How confident are you in your skills at Old Atlanta?
I feel just as good going into Old Atlanta as I did tonight with Auto Club. I feel like I should be able to be in contention for the win again there. I feel like it's going to be a really good race. I hope I'm not jinxing it, but I think it's going to really put on a great show. Back in the summer when the Gen 4 series went to Old Atlanta for the official races, I noticed that the track seemed to allow more movement even before, as far as running different lines. It was really noticeable in 3 and 4, so I expect to see drivers, painting the white line, the old Harvick line, and then just ripping the top in both ends and making something happen. I love running the top, so I'm going to see what I can do to make that work for me, but just the key is you got to be versatile and just kind of know, like, hey, if you're really pushing it, but you're going to pay a big price towards the end of the run, you just got to maybe dial it back a notch. But sometimes you go to certain tracks and there isn't quite as much fall off, and you can charge a little bit harder than you would think. So going to have to definitely do some practice and kind of see what the tire is going to give us. But I just got to be on a kill for that race. I'm definitely going to need some help, though. I'm still too far back, in my opinion, to really do much here with Seth. So going to need some luck to go my way, but I'm going to do anything I can to go for the win at least. Yeah, 27 points is what we're being told officially. So maybe invite some friends to come race next week, just in case Seth has a bad night, so he falls further down the field. Might be your best hope. But Michael, want to say thanks for hanging out. Anyone you want to say hello to, or thank you for making this all happen for you? Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Sim Speed Shop for being on board the car. I also got to thank my flat out esports teammates, just putting in work, just trying to get better each week and learning things. And I feel like we've been fairly competitive this winter series, and it's been a lot of fun. I wish it was longer, to be honest. I love this car so much, but it's a really good schedule. The races have been a lot cleaner than I thought they would go, so that's been awesome. We've gotten some nice green flag runs, so it's been fun. But hopefully, we can get a win and wrap it up on a high note. All right, Michael. Well, thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next week at Atlanta. All right, thank you. All right, Evan, there's Michael Araya. He finishes P2 tonight here at Auto Club.
And we'll talk with the driver who got just one spot better than him and the newest member of the RSR Race Win Club, because let us introduce you to the race winner in the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series for the first time. It is William Schmidt who finds victory lane here tonight in Fontana. And William, first off, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, I know you mentioned on broadcast, but that really was the longest 10 laps of my life. Like, time just expanded. I don't know how to explain it, but oh my god, that was insane. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Let's rewind and go back to lap number 43. Right before we go for the green flag pit cycle, you're sitting third. Agnell's ahead of you in P2. Seth is the leader. You decide to come down pit road a couple of laps earlier than them. That's not too out of the ordinary. And to be kind of assumed, all right, well, a couple cars pitted before, things will cycle out. And then as we get to 20 to go, 15 to go, 10 to go, the gap's still looking good. Just kind of walk us through that whole process of going for the undercut and then trying to manage the gap.
Yeah, I figured the undercut would work. I felt like I was pretty good at saving tires on that run. And it worked out, obviously. And yeah, I mean, we were just running smooth for the entire race, and about with 10 to go, the little noises just started becoming a little bit louder. The car just seemed to be getting a little more sideways, and obviously the nerves kept kicking in, and I was just peeking at the relative. I think I was looking at the relative more than the track, and oh my god, I just kept seeing it going down and down and down, and I figured, like, it's really going to come down to the wire. And I guarantee you, if this race ran for one extra lap, not only would I have lost the race, I actually would have ran out of fuel. I was really, really close on fuel. So, I mean, it ended at the perfect time, and man, like I said, I'm speechless. Like, everything is just running through my head right now. It is insane.
Not the first checkered flag we've seen you pick up here on Mondays. Of course, you had the win in the duels back in 2022 on the Cup side of things, but to commit what I think is 97 or 98 career starts to this, to get a points race win, what is this moment like as a culmination of all that effort you put in?
Oh, it is. It means so much. I mean, I should have had a whole lot of wins before this, especially on the super speedways. I go back to, I think it was 2022. It was the fall Talladega race where I thought I had the win. Then I think it was Eric Stanford who just flew around me last second. But yeah, I mean, I should have had, honestly, a lot of these by now on the super speedways. But to come here on a non-super speedway and just absolutely dominate like how I did, I don't know how I did it, but I'm really thankful nonetheless. So it's crazy.
Some might argue that, this car track combo is one of the hardest on the sim, whereas, the Cup cars at a plate track, anybody can find success. So what is it about these cars that have allowed you on a part-time schedule, granted, but over the course of your 5 starts, you've been competitive in all of them, you've, been in the mix for all of them, and then tonight putting it all together, what is it about these Gen 4 cars that suits you so well?
I think it's just about how well you can send it into the corners. Like, you can really kind of sling the rear out in the corners compared to the next gen where it's just kind of mechanical grip, which is why I don't really run so well on them. But the Gen 4, where you can almost borderline track it like a dirt car, sort of, but not really a dirt car. You can just really sling the thing out sideways, but not too sideways. There's a little fine craft to it. And I don't know how, but I'm just really good at those types of cars where you can just sling the rear out just a little bit and just put the floor, or not the floor, what am I saying? Put the pedal to the floor. And Auto Club it's close to Michigan, and Michigan is one of my best tracks, but I feel like that's probably why I'm good here specifically. And yeah, I'm trying to think of ways to extend this, but I can't think of any.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned that you feel like there should have been other wins that had come before this, and it seems once you're able to get the one, they will come more frequently, but there will only be your first win. So we will let you go and enjoy this moment, but before we do, who do you want to say hi to?
Yeah, hi Schulte, hi Coop. We won some. Let's go. I guess a little shout out to the scheme as well. It's a little West Coast classic I bring out to West Coast races. So I don't know, maybe that was the little bit of luck I needed to actually close one out. But yeah, man, yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, congrats on the win. Well deserved. Appreciate you being with us for all these Monday nights, and go and enjoy this one, and we'll talk again next time.
All right, thank you.
It's your race winner tonight from Fontana. William Schmidt gets his first career win in the RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series. The other side of that, Seth the Merchant, who I will say settles for a P3, Derek, but holds steady. His championship lead remains at 27. It is not enough to be mathematically locked up, but he's in a good spot with a week to go, and you're down trackside with him.
Well, Seth, Evan says you settled for yeah. All right. So, Seth, I was saying, Evan used the word settled for a P3. I find it hard to accept that word settled when you finish P3, but what a great night. What were those last few laps like, battling with everybody in the last couple laps?
Yeah, just trying to time the run and not get tight and hit the wall like I did. And I don't know. I think we had a shot at William there, but I just messed up and got in the fence. And we'll take a P3 though. I mean, another good points night going into the last race.
So it looked like you and Michael were sort of trying the old, IndyCar slingshot style maneuvers to catch William. Do you believe that was the fastest way to do it? Do you believe staying in line would have helped you catch him faster? Or were you just worried about getting around Michael?
No, I just wanted to get around Michael. I think, if I would have cleared, I think I could have got to William really fast, but I know Michael didn't. He probably didn't want me to pass him because of the point situation. So we were kind of brawling there, trying to get second and, let William get away a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'll still take a P3.
So all things considered, you're going to end the night exactly where you started, 27 points ahead of Michael Araya for P2 in the points battle. So we now go to Old Atlanta, sort of really, I guess, great news in old NASCAR terms that we're going to finish at Old Atlanta, since that's where we finished at one point in time. How much of a fan are you of racing at that form of that track?
I'm a big fan. Hopefully the top's not OP. I'm getting tired of running the top at every single track, and I want to run that Harvick line right on the white line, and hopefully it'll work out.
All right. Well, Seth, what a great run tonight. Unfortunately, you sort of killed that odd-numbered race streak that Evan's been talking about. You'd run races 1, 3, and 5. So in a way, Evan thought you were the odds-on favorite for number 7. So, but yeah, great run regardless. Anyone you want to say hello to or thank you on the way out?
Just you guys for putting on the league, and Marcus Struckman for doing some spotting for me tonight.
Well, there you go. Well, there's your third place finisher, Seth the Merchant. Seth, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Well, Evan, what a night it was. Lots of passing, a little bit of contact here and there, and high drama all the way to the last seconds of the race.
There really was, and we've got somebody else knocking on the radio channel, so we'll bring him up and talk to RaceSpot's own Dylan Coyle, who's sticking around and chatting with us. A P17, Dylan, we talked a lot about the paint scheme tonight. It could be worse. We spent a lot of time talking about accidents that other people were in, so what'd you think of your first time back?
I was thoroughly excited, thoroughly happy with how it went. I think 17th was a little bit of, to be honest, a disappointment based off the race pace I had. I slid it through the box and took too long to realize that I lost probably 3.5 to 4 seconds on that green flag stop, which would have put me in the battle for the top 10. So 17th, I feel a little bit hard done by, but it's my own mistake. Again, in terms of race pace, though, I was thoroughly happy 2 weeks post-surgery, and I feel like it's a palate cleanser from Michigan, the last race. Or Homestead, was it? I don't remember.
Well, listen, Derek's got a conspiracy because we were talking about the paint scheme and the colors match, and you've got the scarf. So how coordinated was this accident?
I'm trying here.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Yeah,
don't worry.
hold on.
Take your time.
So it was not coordinated at all. So those lights are actually red and blue. However, my paint scheme is pink and blue. So I understand, though, with the color that it looks pink, but all I've got to say is
he's not saying anything.
All he's got to say is
I said it.
No
Scarf
words.
said it. Up the Kingsman.
There you go.
Kingsman.
Said all that it needed to say.
Yeah, Kingsman, the primary paint, Kingsman FC. It's a team me and my buddies back home created. Jake Mannion, my buddy, created it, and he's big time in the EAFC world. But so we've had a bunch of photo shoots. Like it's kind of like taking FIFA, putting it into real life. So gotta have the scarf, had to show it off. Of course, running those Celsius colors too, and College Racing. The red and blue, it's kind of like, College kind of,
Adjacent, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Let's look at the numbers for this year. Finishes, I'll go in reverse order to end on a high note. Finishes of 26th, 21st, 17th, 17th, 14th, and 13th. So one race left to go. What are the odds that the season finale is going to be the best finish of the year for you as we go to Old Atlanta?
I don't know. Old Atlanta is a fun track. It's difficult, but I can't understand why sometimes I have my stuff together and sometimes I just don't. Homestead, I was trash. I was a wreck. I was horrible. Same with Michigan. Go to an auto club and I feel like I'm right there with the rest of the top 10, which is great. Again, I feel like it's such stiff competition and I'm not practicing nearly like I should. I have nothing, not even until we go into the session. So, what are the odds? We're going out there and winning, baby. Mm-hmm.
Book it. He's called
it.
his shot, and I look forward to placing a big bet on that to happen so that I can pay off the mortgage.
Oof. Yeah. We'll get that mortgage paid off.
There you go. You guaranteed it. We'll let you get out of here, Dylan. Thanks for the time, and we'll catch you next week.
I'll see you guys. Thanks as always. RaceSpotTV, great broadcast company. I should know.
He's an insider, for sure. That is our RaceSpotTV in-race reporter, Dylan Coyle. Happy to have him back with us tonight, and he's guaranteed a win. I don't know if it's like one of those Charles Barkley guarantee-its, which are almost always wrong, but he's guaranteed it. So we'll look back on this moment with pride or disgust in 1 week's time. And it is in 1 week's time, Derek. Well, this championship will be decided. It was not locked up here tonight, and it was a zero-sum game for Seth the Merchant. He entered with the same advantage that he leaves with. It'll be a 27-point deficit. It is going to need a great night for one of his championship challengers, and it is going to need a terrible night for him to make it even close. But outside of that championship picture, what a show it will be. Old Atlanta Gen 4 Cup cars. Where else would you rather be on a Monday night?
Nowhere. That's where I'm going to be next Monday night, here next to you, and with either Josh Willie or someone else producing. It's excited to see how it all plays out. I love the suspense of knowing that this championship comes down to one race, one opportunity, and someone will be victorious.
And there are 2 championships that'll be up for grabs next week. Of course, Seth the Merchant, who has a 27-point lead over Michael Araya for the Drivers' Championship, but the Team Championship changes hands tonight as well. How about Flat Out Esports getting the better finish tonight amongst the teams with a Michael Araya P2, a Grant Davis P7, and I believe it was then a Sam Nieto P10. They get a better result than the A51 contingent, who end up now 7 points behind them. So that is a single-digit championship battle, as we will hand away 2 pieces of hardware next Monday night. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Fontana. On behalf of our entire team at RealSimRacing, RaceSpotTV, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for our producer Joshua Lee, for Derek Watson, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate William Schmidt on his first career RSR points race win. We're back in 1 week's time, Monday, January the 29th, at iRacing's virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the 2024 RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series can be found exclusively here on RaceSpotTV. Until then, good night from SoCal.